February, 2:23 a.m. The Old Bailey, defendants antechamber. Well, I never expected this. Who'd have thought we'd be back here again so soon? We are on a study tour of Great Britain, with the intention of learning the country's legal practices. In order to research the latest court procedures here, we need as much court experience as possible. Well, yes, I suppose that's true, but for the person in the dock, it may well be his or her one and only time in court, and it could be life-changing. In which case, treating it as research may seem a little crass. Oh, when you put it like that, you're quite right. Good morning. Oh, it's this guy. I can use that for it. Ah, Mr. Natsume. Good morning. Good morning. Oh dear. Are you alright? Your eyes are terribly bloodshot. The early bird catches the worm, as they say here in Britain. Oh boy. Yes, I heard that expression. But I don't really want to catch a worm. So I tried desperately not to wake up early, but I was so worried I couldn't catch a wink. And now I am absolutely exhausted as a result. Do literary people take things so literally? Thank you for putting your faith in us today, Mr. Natsume. I wish I had 9 lives. My whole future hangs in the balance. I am too terrified to tremble. As he trembles. Really? Because I can feel the tremors in the floor. I can't do this. I can't take it. Although, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Yes? I caught a glimpse of the public library as I walked by the courtroom. It looked like the opening night of an opera. There were so many people. I had no idea my case was such a notorious affair here in London. Oh, neither did I. Do you know why that might be, Mr. Sato? I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo, but I have no idea. So all that knowing looked So that all-knowing look on your face is just a coincidence then, is it? Don't hide the truth from me. It's because of the Reaper, isn't it? Lord Van Sykes? Is that right, Miss Susato? As I purchased as many different newspapers as I could find this morning, and yes, Lord Van Sykes is on the front page of every one. I knew it. Sometime after the prosecutor was dubbed the Reaper of the Bailey, he stopped appearing in court, it seems. It's been several years now, in fact, until the day before yesterday. Yes, Inspector Gregson told us something similar, didn't he? The trial 2 days ago marked Lord Van Sykes' return to the courtroom after a very long hiatus. The trial of Magnus McGilded. Ugh, what a harrowing experience that was. I believe that appearance made even greater waves here than in the I believe that appearance made even greater waves here in the capital than today's. But we wouldn't have realized, of course, having only just arrived in the country. Why is the Reaper back in the Bailey so soon, for what appears to be a mundane murder? That's the question the papers are asking, and they were all speculating various answers. Mundane! Mundane! It's the most significant saga of the century to some of us. Oh dear. I mean no offense, Mr. Natsume, but that's how the papers are describing it. Well, lest we forget that fact that it could spark an international incident. Obviously, the appearance of this infamous prosecutor has caught people's attention. But there's another blatant similarity with the trial of 2 days ago. Yes, I agree. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, it's you. Me? Well, I suppose that's true. Both times, it is you who stands against this legendary prosecutor. It can only mean that you're friends with the Reaper. Please, I don't rub shoulders with Deathbringers. I'm afraid there's really only one other explanation. It can only be another example, Mr. Naruhodo, of your uncommon bad luck. Thanks for that. Oh, this is just my luck. Why must I be represented by a man with such frail fortune? By the least lucky lawyer alive. I am alive, so not that unlucky. So yes, I guess that means at least. Well, let's not forget that it was you, Mr. Natsume, who asked me to represent you. Yes, it's true that I'm just a student, new to London, with little in the way of experience or skills or luck. But I promise you this. I will fight your corner until the bitter end, and I will believe in you, Mr. Natsume. All benevolent locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. You're not alone here with us, Mr. Natsume. Whatever happens, we'll we will always be on your side. Oh, benevolent, non-locum stud assistant Miss Mikotoba Esquires. I am in your debt forever. I shall never forget this great kindness for as long as I live.
Mr. Natsume, counsel for the defense. The court session is about to begin. Kindly make your way into the courtroom at once.
Oh boy, okay. Alright then, Mr. Natsume. It's time. Let's go. Yes! Yes! This is it. My second appearance in a British courtroom. And my second trial against the Reaper. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because this time, I won't let my faith waver. I will believe in my client to the last. Just like you believed in me. I believe I can do this now. I'm ready for this fight. 20th February, 10 a.m. The Old Bailey courtroom.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this courtroom to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed.
The prosecution is fully prepared, my lord.
The defense is ready, my lord. Fucking vampire.
The Nipponese are a truly fascinating breed.
I'm sorry, what?
Lord Strongheart has told me all about you. That you were a student who arrived in London but 2 days ago. A mere amateur.
Do you have a point?
Being a compatriot, you feel compelled to try to help the accused, I suppose. Typical Nipponese arrogance.
Forgive me, but I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate description. Yeah, the appropriate description is this guy literally has no one else who will defend him, so we're gonna do it, okay? We were basically given no choice but Mr. what's his name? So we're gonna do it. Okay. Susato-san. After all, at our previous encounter, the defendant was found to be innocent.
Very true. A most fascinating, if dark, trial it was, too. The tragic conclusion came later, of course. Here's to the acquitted and his unfortunate, violent end.
Thank you, counsels. I see both sides are in fine fettle. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are you ready to carry out your duties here in court as impartial members of the public? Why are you back? You shouldn't just be back. This is not a jury, it's a rigging. You never know when you might be down on your luck, but I believe in fair play for everyone.
Well, I must warn you, I'm rather more ruthless than I appear. Oh well, not me. What you see is what you get. I'm a peace-loving fella.
Impartial jury. Can we try that again? Miss Joan Garadeb, who lives above the accused and is the landlady. Are you kidding me? No. You already have opinions. You aren't unbiased. You aren't impartial. Ugh.
I'm afraid to say, I think it's quite possible that the mustached foreigner did the deed.
Lazy. Come on, what are we waiting for? No doubt he did it anyway.
Sorry, didn't quite catch that.
Lazy. Very well. Let us proceed. Your opening statement, if you please, Lord Van Zykes.
Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with a rising power in the Far East. This should have nothing to do with the dang case, but somehow you decided it's pertinent information.
No. Shame on you. No. Don't do that.
The accused in the dock today is a student from that same land, a certain Mr. Soseki Natsume.
Don't make this political, you dang ding dongs.
And while our country has extended this foreign student the warmest of welcomes, regrettably, the kindness has not been returned. In fact, the student is accused of a most sinister act of plunging a knife into the back of an innocent woman who was doing nothing but walking down the street.
A knife crime? I tell you from bitter experience, those are the worst. Bloody oath they are. I'm gonna be so annoyed through this whole thing. I'm gonna be so very, very, very annoyed. Wait. Is juror number 1 from the first case, like, not one of the jurors, but like the guy who owed that money? Or was it one of the old jurors? The Great Ace, turning feeds, cross, miracles, characters. But like,
Just look at that sallow complexion and short stature. He's one of those dreadful Japanese.
Come on, let's get this over with. With me now, everyone. 1, 2, 3.
Sorry? Didn't quite catch that.
He's gonna be our saving grace. He's like the only one who has no idea what's going on, and he's gonna prevent them from immediately going guilty. Immediately. Gosh dang, get rid of the jury system. Am I right? They're all so terrible. They're all so terrible.
Pray forgive the courtesy of smashing my hollow chalice here in this great chamber. Allow me to call the first witness to the stand.
Very well. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please.
Your name and occupation, please.
Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at the Scotland Yard.
Would you please summarize the events of the case for the court, Inspector?
Victim is thought to be a young woman in her 20s by the name of Olive Green. Olive Green, and is thought to be her and not known to be her. I wonder. I beg your pardon, Inspector. Thought to be? Yes. Having been stabbed in the back by her attacker's knife, the victim fell unconscious. That was 3 days ago now, and she's been comatose ever since. That's a whole other voice. Well, what? So you don't even know who she is for sure? Comatose. I see. But her life is not in danger?
Fortunately for the Eastern student, the charge will not be murder. Pray, elaborate on the details, Inspector.
Sir, if I could ask everyone to... click. History? Let me do history. Okay. If I could ask everyone to look at the street map. As I mentioned, the incident took place 3 days ago, at around 5 in the afternoon. It happened on pavement running alongside Briar Road, wide through thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles. It had not long since stopped snowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. Out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused and stabbed in the back. Luckily, the young lady... Oh boy. Young lady's life was spared, and she's currently being treated... No, this is so wrong for Gregson. Being treated in one of the city's hospitals. But being unconscious as she is, we've been unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is the case file with everything we know about the victim so far. Thank you, Inspector. The court will accept the documents as evidence, if you please. Case file has been entered into the court record.
of the weapon that was used.
Sir, I have that here. It was removed from the victim's back. Ouch. That big thing is starting to make me scared to walk down the street now. With a heavy blade like that, almost anybody would have been able to stab the poor woman. Even this ragged-looking Soseki-san, I suppose. A common or garden jackknife, I would say, rather nondescript. Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts the blade as evidence. The jackknife has been entered in the court record. Now then, what do we know of the motive? Money or valuables, I presume? From what we can tell by looking at the woman's possessions, it seems she's a poor student herself. Hard to imagine she would have had anything much worth pinching, my lord. I see. Well, in that case, are we looking at some deep-seated resentment towards the victim? I'm afraid I couldn't say. Apart from the visiting second-hand bookshelves, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, doesn't appear to get out much. At this moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim.
Yes!
Stop it! Put your dang hand down. Okay. Reporting Officer Rolly Beat. Great. The victim remains unconscious. Named from personal effects. Other details unknown. I mean, obviously it isn't actually them. Apart from single stab wound from the edged knife, no other signs of injury observed. Assailant was running away. We already knew that. Wait, seen by the reporting officer. Huh. Okay. Huh. Interesting. Oh, look here, Mr. Naruhodo. Just at the tip. A small piece of the blade appears to be missing. You're right. Well spotted, Miss Susato. I wonder what could have happened to it. Yes. You don't think it could still be lodged in the victim, do you? Oh dear, I hope not. That sounds terribly painful. And that's our missing piece. Whoa. If theft and grievance has been ruled out as the motive, what reason could Mr. Natsume possibly have had for stabbing the young woman? Yet you arrested the man out in spite of that, in a totally unjustified and heavy-handed way.
Objection!
Dang.
Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging a freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery, but your words have soured its hollowed bouquet. For it is you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed here.
What?
Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Inspector Gregson, the prosecutor calls for your formal testimony. Explain to the court precisely why the constabulary came to arrest a Nipponese student.
Yes, sir. Witness testimony. Mr. Natsume's arrest. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred. There was an unusually light fog. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Those being a number of old books he just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. It was just a matter of working out who the books had belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him. Old books, you say? Yes, my lord. Have a photograph here in the scene of the crime taken immediately after incident. Ah, yes, I can clearly see the books to which you are referring. I will take that photographic print as evidence, please, Inspector. Crime scene photograph has been entered to court record. Let's see those books. Asshole. And such an asshole, yikes.
You Nipponese are a spineless breed, too cowardly to admit defeat.
This is the point of a defense attorney. Asshat.
Denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary.
Well, Forgive me, Lord Van Sykes, but the defendant is not denying everything, as you put it. What are you doing, Miss Susato? Do go on. Mr. Natsume has admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, now that you mention it, when we visited him in prison yesterday, he did tell us what had all happened. As I was walking along the accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman wearing a green overcoat she was, and just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran as fast as my legs could carry me back to my accursed lodgings.
A green overcoat?
Well, that's exactly what the woman in the print is wearing. Oh my, a photographic print in full color. What will the world come up with next?
The defendant has done nothing more than admit he fled the scene of a terrifying incident. That does not mean he's guilty of the heinous crime of stabbing the woman in the back.
There was nobody else there at the time. Just the two of them, the victim and the accused. In other words, there is nobody else who could possibly have stabbed the woman. In fact, a fact that the accused concedes.
It seems this cross-examination could prove to be pivotal, counsel. Proceed, please. Yes, my lord. Nothing for it. I have to use this cross-examination to turn the tables here. It's our only chance.
Hold it!
How are you able to state that with any certainty?
Quite simply, my learned friend, because that is what the witnesses to this crime have told us.
Ah, yes. Inspector Gregson mentioned the witnesses yesterday, didn't he? That's right. One of them is a policeman, I believe, from Scotland Yard.
That's correct. That's correct, madam.
Then we must hear their testimony.
The prosecution will, of course, call them to the stand, should it be necessary.
But wait a minute. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, in the middle of winter, it would have been dark already. No matter how light the fog might have been, no one could have seen.
I'm unaware of the situation on your tiny island in the east. But here in the capital city of Great Britain, all main roads are illuminated by the night. In the night by glass street lights. The prosecution believes there would have been ample light by which to witness the crime.
Quite. Here in London, for the first time in history, mankind has completely conquered the darkness. Which means we really need to hear those witness statements. If I could just get through the fog of this cross-examination, maybe we'll be able to.
It seems the counsel for the defense is taking stock. Continue with your testimony, Inspector.
Nothing interesting there. Scattering.
Hold it!
Mr. Natsume's belongings? I think you'll find it's all there in the photographic print of the crime scene. Yes, the 3 books on the floor. That's right, my lord. Second-hand books they were. Irreparably damaged after falling in the snow, of course.
The accused could have easily have carried all 3 books in one hand, which means his other hand would have been free to wield a knife, for example.
He's very clever, isn't he? What do you mean? He's made it extremely hard for you to assert that. Oh, shh. Switch fell. Okay. He's managed to close the one avenue of escape we might have had before we even knew it was there.
You mean to say that the defendant was holding his belongings as he thrust the knife into the woman's back?
That must be what happened, my lord. Yes.
Hold it!
The defendant apparently visits the second-hand bookshop on a daily basis.
Yes, so I understand. Shop full of old English literature.
I commend the accused.
No, I'm just gonna have to switch.
I commend the accused on the lofty subject matter of his scholarly attention.
Bloke's room was stacked from floor to ceiling with those musty old books.
Can you tell us more about the bookshop in question, please, Inspector?
Well, if I must, I'll have to ask you to look at the street map again, I'm afraid. The closest second-hand bookshop, the accused lodgings, is this place here, Bourbon Books. A little place on the corner of Briar Road and Meerschaum Street. As it happens, the accused is currently living in lodgings on the other side of Briar Road on the opposite side, which means it doesn't take a genius to work out the route he would have taken home. Something like this. Local map information has been updated uselessly.
Yes. Yes, I concur with your conclusion, Inspector. The defendant would certainly have passed the scene of the crime on his way home from that particular shop.
Mr. Naruhodo, I think what the inspector just told us could turn out to be of vital importance.
Yes, I agree. The most important point that the inspector just made being... Inspector Gregson, may I ask you a favor?
What? Could you kindly add the name of the bookshelf up to your formal testimony, please? I believe it may be of vital importance. Maybe? Oh, well, yes. It could be a very important clue.
Very well. Very well. Not that I can see it being of any great significance, but please revise your testimony accordingly, Inspector.
Yes, sir, my lord. Whatever you say. Could the man be any more sardonic? Sardonic meaning. Grimly mocking or cynical. Okay.
If I could just stop you there, Inspector Gregson.
What is it, Sunshine? I'm a busy man, you know.
This is a receipt we found in Mr. Natsume's room. It was issued on the day of the incident, and details the purchase of 3 second-hand books.
And you found that in Kay's room, you did you?
Yes, but the point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the of the shop printed on it.
Go on.
This receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books.
Your Books? Y-O-R-E, I presume.
Yes, my lord. So Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books at a second-hand bookshop that day. However, the bookshop in question was not Bourbon Books.
What?
Inspector, did you know of this other bookshop?
Yes, sir.
Your Books is another second-hand bookshop not far from Bourbon Books.
It's just that, well, it's such a small place, I didn't think the accused would have known about it.
Objection!
But in fact, that is the bookshop which the defendant visited on that day in question. And this receipt proves it.
Objection!
Yes.
For what difference it makes. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis.
Objection!
I disagree. I mean, after all, I have the street map here, if that might be of help. Oh, yes, thank you. Have a look at this, please. If the defendant had been returning from Bourbon Books, then yes, he would almost certainly have passed the place where Miss Green was attacked. However, if we take into account the fact that he was actually at another bookshop, Your Books, may very well turn out to be he wouldn't have passed that location at all.
Could that be true?
My, it rather depends on where this other bookshop is, but I do declare it may be a possibility.
Now, is that right, Mr. Lawyer, sir? What you just said?
Absolutely, it could absolutely be right.
Now where's the bookshop?
Inspector Gregson, where is the Your Books establishment?
Well, obviously we looked into that.
Turns out that Your Books is just here on the next corner of Meerschaum Street going east. Local map information has been updated in the court record. And there you have it, as you can clearly see now. Oh.
My learned Nipponese friend is obviously in training to be a clown, with the way he regales us with such witticisms. To your future career in the circus.
You put that glass down now, or I'll put it down for you.
I didn't think I needed to spell it out, but here we go.
If the accused was coming home from Your Books instead of Bourbon Books, there's no doubt he still would have passed the place where the victim was stabbed. Unless he went the other way. But, you know.
Yes. Thank you, Inspector.
Unless we can prove that he went the other way.
Allow me to reiterate for my learned, if somewhat slow, Nipponese friend. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis.
Unless he tells us where he goes. As I suspected, you can't fool me, and I don't suggest you try.
What I say, eh? I've had enough of this now.
Beg your pardon? Terribly sorry, but would you mind repeating that? Mr. Naruhodo, we mustn't give up.
What do you mean?
If the prosecution's assertion is correct, the members of the jury may very well decide that Mr. Natsume is guilty.
Ah, she's absolutely right.
We must consider the assertion just put forward by the prosecution very, very carefully.
They claim Soseki-san must have passed the location of the incident on his way home from your books, but the assertion just made by the prosecution is fundamentally flawed. Explain yourself, counsel. Yes, my lord. You can see what I mean by this on this map. When returning from your books to his lodgings, Natsume could have followed the route suggested by the prosecution. However, that isn't the only conceivable route to take in between the two places. If the defendant uses these streets, look what happens. He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked.
Objection!
Talking back to a clown is a fool's errand, of course. However, I feel compelled to point out that route is what is commonly referred to as the long way round. Ah. On a cold winter's night, why would any man choose to take a longer route home?
Well,
the answer is extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words, the accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings, and is the obvious perpetrator of this crime.
Objection!
But, aha, yes, I've got it. Obviously, we must ask the man himself. Ask Mr. Natsume which route he took home.
I have already informed the court of the accused's response to such questionings. He claims he has no recollection.
That's right. That's right. As a sad bloke seems to spend his time wandering aimlessly from A to B. That day was no exception. He says he doesn't remember where he was or which way he took home. I don't believe this.
I thank you, my learned friend, and suggest that we do not waste any more of the court's time by wandering aimlessly around this subject. Pray, what say you, insightful jurors?
But even if that's the case, it's still...
I agree with Lord Van Zykes wholeheartedly and in every way.
What? I don't believe it. Does this mean...
We members of the jury are completely convinced now. Very well, in that case I hereby call upon all members of the jury to present your findings to the court.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty! Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty! Guilty!
I thought he wasn't paying attention. It would appear the jury's leaning is unanimous.
To the insightful members of jury, I applaud your brave resolve.
You serve queen and country admirably. Mr. Naruhodo. No, not yet. This isn't over yet. I still have one last chance to sway the opinion of the jury. This dang early. Wow. I have to tip the balance of those scales the other way. I have to turn this around. Somehow. Those are the eyes of Quarry, not yet willing to give up and die. So I presume you intend to wield your rights again in this trial. Rights of the defense written into antiquated British law that should have been buried long ago. Call it antiquated if you will, but it's the defendant's prerogative to carry out a summation examination if it so chooses. Very well, counsel. In accordance with the letter of the law, we shall proceed with the summation examination. Are the members of the jury ready, Mr. Foreman? Okay, Mr. Foreman. Okay. Of course we're ready. I'm all too familiar with that Nipponese whippersnapper and his uncas refusal to throw in his alley. Very well then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty. Dun, dun, dun. Oh boy. They hate me already, so For pity's sake, that little Nipponese oddity already admitted it himself, didn't he?
If he said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why, it can only have been the victim. That man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop, not in winter. So the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful.
I really don't care. Can't we just wrap this up now? I've got work to be doing.
Your books, yes. Nice shop there. But Bourbon books? No. No, not worth a visit.
With only minor exceptions, the reasons for finding the defendant guilty are all too clear. I've got nothing. Okay. When the stabbing occurred, the only two people at the scene were the victim and the accused. And the accused himself has admitted to seeing the victim in her green overcoat sink to the ground before his eyes. Furthermore, we have heard from the inspector that the defendant then fled the scene. I must say, I would have ample ground to convict this man already.
Oh dear. Even the judge appears convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt now. Why did he have to run away like that? And how are we supposed to believe in some phantom attacker that nobody could see? This is impossible. How can I possibly make a case for the defense? Mr. Naruhodo, this is no time for grumbling. If we want to force the trial to continue... Yes, I know. I have to turn the tide. I must make the jurors change their minds. Well, 4 of them at least. Exactly. We have no choice but to forge forward. You have the floor, counsel. Begin your summation examination.
Yes, my lord. I just need to keep this trial going somehow. Whatever it takes. Whatever bluffing and manipulation it takes. Woo! Come on, Ryonosuke. You can do it. Jury examination. Woo! Defense's rebuttal. For pity's sake, that lonely Pawnese oddity already admitted himself, didn't he? If he said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why, it can only have been the victim. Man would have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop. Not in winter. So the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful. I really don't care, can we just... no. Then, your books, yes. Nice bookshop that, but my book's not worth a visit. Okay. Let's get more information. Sorry. Fold it, you say? Fold what? No. What I said was, hold it. What I wanted to ask was, do you visit your books often? I like the old books they have in there, yes. I enjoy reading them over a nice cup of old tea. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about. And at what time did you visit your books on the day in question? Well, I was picking out books, and they're all afternoon, and it would have been just before 5 that I left. That's my daily routine, you see, same thing every day, including the day you're talking about. Just before 5, you say? Exactly when the victim was attacked. Are you sure about the time? Oh yes, no mistake there. I remember it well. I'm not about to forget that day in a hurry. Not after the dreadful time I had. What do you mean? Well, I was walking down Calabash Road when I slipped on the ice and donked my head. Calabash Road. Okay. It's always worse after the snow stopped falling. That's when it's most slippery. Knocked myself clean out, I did. Really thought my number was up. Wait a minute. Let me get this straight. This happened on Calabash Road? That's right. I live in Cornpipe, you see. Heading down Calabash Road is the quickest way for me to get back from your books. Juror number 6. I must insist that you add that information to your formal statement. It very well may be extremely significant. Sorry? Extremely sick? No, I'm quite alright now.
It sends a shiver down my spine to hear the members of the jury are so convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt. But I can't help feeling that some of their opinions are rather subjective. I agree. It's the irrelevance of some of them that are of what some of them are saying that sends a shiver down my spine. Still, at least some of their assertions don't actually incriminate Mr. Natsume of anything. That's something. We must use that to advantage, Mr. Naruhodo. Cunningly. Yes, you're right. Let's listen to the jurors again, carefully. And if any of their assertions are at odds, I'll pit them mercilessly against each other. Yes, don't hold back. Pit them all against each other. Okay. Cornpipe. There's no cornpipe here. Oh boy. Going down here might be faster. Not helpful. Slept over that evening myself. I can't exactly put that straight against this, but I can press it. But you can't deny that there are other routes Mr. Natsume could have taken back from your books. Your books. Oh yes. Like you drew on the map, you mean? What was it? Calabash Road or something? Precisely. But it seems to me that what counts is whether the little Japanese fellow actually went that way or not. Well, yes, that's true. And at the moment, there's no proof that shows he did, is there? Well, yes. That's true as well. As I understand it, the accused himself doesn't remember which way he went, does he? Well, yes. That's annoyingly true. Winter nights are cold and dark, so the way I see it, you'd want to go home as quickly as possible. Well, yes. Why is all this true? So really, the only thing that makes sense is that he went home along Briar Road. I'm supposed to be convincing you here. I've given a lot of thought, you know. I didn't just make up my mind on a whim that he did it. I mean, if there was some logical reason why he might have gone the Calabash Road way, it'd be different. I'd be happy to reconsider my position in that case. Honest, I would. Huh. A reason why Soseki-san might have taken the longer way home. Yes, a good reason. I don't imagine you'd be able to sway this young man's opinion without one. I do think it's this. But like it's a stretch. It's definitely a stretch to pit that together when I don't know where Cornpipe is. When all he said was fast to get to Cornpipe, but like
Okay, what did he admit? Excuse me, but aren't you... Oh, this is what we're going with? Yes, that's right. I was on the witness stand myself just 2 days ago. Okay, he was a witness. Okay. Yes. I had a feeling I knew your face. Or the side of it, anyway. If I remember correctly, you're a baker, aren't you? That's right. After the gold rush down under, I came back to London to work. It was all going swimmingly until you started frolicking around. Bruce Fairplay was a man with repute. Sorry? Don't think I've forgotten how you treated me the other day. You had me and that young Petter pegged as criminals. Oh, well, you know, water under the bridge. Now there's all sorts of rumors buzzing around, and the police have been badgering me non-stop. And then why are you in the jury seat? If I could turn back the clock. Well, anyway, I don't know about the Hatter, but at least I'm in the clear now. And free to make up my own mind about who's guilty and who isn't. Thank goodness. Alright, maybe I might struggle to change this man's mind given our awkward history. Oh dear, I wonder what's become of Mr. First now. Okay, if he saw that woman in green collapse before his eyes, why, it can only have been the victim.
Hold it!
Hold it indeed. You're right that at the time of the incident, the defendant admits to having seen someone wearing a green overcoat walking ahead of him. Well, quite! That's precisely my point. Clearly that someone wearing green was the victim. And clearly that funny little Nipponese man with the disturbing mustache is the culprit. But let us not forget, madam, the defendant vehemently denies attacking the woman. Why, of course he does. If he admits to stabbing her, his life is over. The man is obviously a liver-faced coward. Honestly, claiming the woman simply collapsed before his eyes? But if that's a lie as you're suggesting, do you not think he would have concocted something more credible? Oh, I really couldn't say. After all, you are foreign. Who's to say what goes through your funny little minds? I could tell you what's going through my funny little mind right now, but you wouldn't like it. I do declare, the man has already made the admission. He himself has stated that there was nobody around. Surely the conclusion is obvious. No one else could have possibly committed this awful crime. Ugh. If no one else could have done it, the accused must be the man. Really, it couldn't be more simple. Your argument is compelling in its simplicity, I must admit. Oh my, you're too kind, my lord. That went well for her.
Hold it!
Whatever is the matter, young man?
You're the wife of Mr. Garadab, aren't you? The landlord who rents Mr. Natsume his room?
The master's wife? Where do you get your ideas, sir? I'm the maid. The maid, you understand.
She's keeping up that charade. Ugh, this is gonna be awkward.
Why didn't you mention this yesterday? That you'd been selected for the jury in this trial, I mean. Well, I was told not to mention it to anyone until the day of the trial, you see. It was in the letter I received. The instructions were very clear, so I'm afraid I had no choice. I see. Anyway, Mr. Natsume, the defendant takes lodging in your master's house, doesn't he? Yes, that's right. Although he's only been in a little over a week now. And in that time, surely you must have taken stock of his character. Doesn't Mr. Natsume look like the kind of man who would commit a crime such as this? You already know her opinion on Mr. Natsume. Why are you asking it? Unless you're trying to get her off the jury. Oh, goodness me, yes. He's just the sort. What? Spending all his time in that dark and dingy room that you guys force him to be in because you guys don't have windows. Sporting that unscrupulous mustache. The man never speaks, and don't get me started on those shifty eyes. All the neighbors are talking about him. I've heard them, you know. People think he must be building a bomb in there or something. Oh dear. Poor Mr. Natsume. How could people say such things about him? He's just a harmless bookworm, nothing more. Well, you just called him a worm, so... Anyway, I'd better be careful about inviting this maid to speak. She's said enough damning things already. You really don't care and want to wrap this up.
Hold it!
A man's life is on the line here, sir. This will take as long as it takes. Don't get clever with me now, son. My life's on the line too, and so is my family's. Ah. The likes of you wouldn't understand, but a laborer like me can't afford to take time off. If I don't work, I don't eat, and neither do the wife and kids. Oh, I see. That must be very hard, and the reason why there is now mandatory time off for people who have jury duty. Thank you very much, history. Thank you so very much. I get a union every morning to find out what needs doing. If you're late and the work's taken, it's tough. This time of year, there's water and gas supply pipes bursting left, right, and center. They're after cheap labor to get the roads dug up to fix it. It's a hard slog from dawn to dusk, it is. So, you were out digging up the roads on the day of the incident as well, were you? That's right. In fact, if I remember rightly, it was just round the corner from where it all happened. By the old bookshop, it was. What? Another coincidence? That's right, Meerschaum Street it was. Thank you. Meerschaum Street? On the map, Mr. Naruhodo, there are only 3 named streets. Juror number 5, I need you to add that information to your formal statement, please. What's the point in that? Can't we just get this business over with now? Please, sir, it's important. Fine, I'll do it then. Thank you so much, Mr. Guy.
Objection!
Those two statements are clearly at odds with one another. At odds, counsel? Explain yourself.
Please, don't point. It wasn't me, I swear.
What? I just want this to get this done and dusted. Well, jury number 3.
Oh, me, sir? What do you mean?
Juror number 5's words just now were extremely significant. Let's take one moment to consider the implications of what has been said. On our map of the local area. On the day in question, Mr. Natsume visited this bookshop to purchase a number of second-hand books. On the same day, we now know that there were works being carried out on Meerschaum Street, making it impassable. We're lucky that it was this part of the street and not the other part of the street. Which means that the defendant's route home could not have taken him along Meerschaum Street and down Briar Road.
Oh, yes, of course. What do you think, sir?
Well, yes, you can't argue with that, really, can you? We must have had a good 2 yards or more of the pavement up. Every gentleman and gentlewoman that came along had to turn back and go the other way.
So the only conclusion is this. The defendant must have taken the longer route back to his lodgings. Yes, I suppose he must have.
I suppose that must be right, eh? Juror number 3, he said the following. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back home, back from the bookshop. But we see now that he had no choice.
Yes. My lord, my judge, sir, if I may.
Yes.
I don't think it's in good conscience that I can say the man's guilty now. Yes, I'd like to see this trial continue so we can get to the bottom of what really happened.
Bonk.
What about you, sir?
Who? Me? Well, alright then. If there's a hole in the prosecution's argument, it should be filled in, that's what I say.
Well done, Mr. Naruhodo. That was wonderful.
Well, we've managed to change a couple of minds at least. Strengthened our position somewhat.
Yes, and it will prompt the other members of jury to reconsider their stance as well. They'll be asking themselves if their current leanings are really right or not. Now, if we could just identify one more clue or discrepancy that would make them stop doubting Mr. Natsume, we might be able to tip the balance completely.
Yes, that's exactly what we've got to do. Van Sykes is looking to bring this trial to an early conclusion. That's what we have to prevent, by whatever means we have at our disposal. Thank you, counsel. On with the summation examination, please. Yes, my lord. Okay. Let's see. Okay, he already admitted it himself. If he said it, the woman in green collapsed before his eyes, it can only have been the victim. So the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful.
gotta be the two of the. That's the only thing I can think of.
Objection!
Yeah, okay. Those two statements clearly contradict each
Hold
other.
it!
No. No. I'm sorry, but as the foreman of the jury, I have to object. That's complete nonsense. What? I'm a banker, so don't forget, I'm an educated man. And there is no contradiction as far as I can see. Quite so, Mr. Foreman. I will not permit a whimsical attack against the good members of the jury council. There was nothing whimsical about it. It's very important to listen very carefully to every juror, Mr. Naruhodo. Then you can decide where the contradictions really lie, if there are any. Collapsed and slipping themselves, maybe?
Objection!
Those statements clearly show a flaw in the jury's reasoning. A flaw? What are you talking about here, counsel? Well, juror number 2, juror number 6. My, whatever could you mean, sir? Oh my gosh. He's the one he saw? Him? I think perhaps the old man didn't hear you. Unbelievable. It's not like I was loud or anything. There's at least one fact of which we can be sure here. The bookshop receipt found in the defendant's room clearly indicates that on the day of the attack, he had been to your books and purchased a number of secondhand titles. He then returned home on foot. But the man says he has no recollection of his return journey. That's correct. But what he does remember is seeing someone appear in front of him on the way. Someone in a green overcoat who suddenly collapsed on the pavement before his eyes. Yes, we are all aware of this. The poor young woman who was stabbed, obviously.
Objection!
Can we really be sure of that, madam? My, whatever do you mean? I'm sure you heard jurors number 6's account of what happened to him on that day. That same afternoon, there was somebody else apart from the victim, who was wearing a green overcoat and fell over on the icy streets in the neighborhood. Oh my! My goodness, you mean... That's right. I'm referring, of course, to hard of hearing juror number 6. Are you really suggesting that the person in the green overcoat, whom the defendant saw collapse in front of his eyes, was the jolly old gentleman on the end of the bench with me today? That's entirely possible, yes. After all, the old man has a somewhat similar build to the victim. Well, look at it. My goodness me. Sorry? You need a bee? And crucially, you know precisely where the old man in the green overcoat fell. On Calabash Road. Therefore, if the person who saw Mr. Natsume collapsing in front of him was in fact juror number 6, it means that the defendant must have taken the long route back to his lodgings. And if that's true, then clearly the crime scene on Briar Road where the woman was stabbed was not on his way home. Oh my! You idiot, old man! If you hadn't been so daft as to be roaming about there, we'd have boxed this off hours ago. And really, what were you thinking wearing such a befuddling coat?
What did you say to me? Is it a crime for the elderly to walk the street these days? Is it a crime to slip over the ice? Is it a crime to keep up with the latest styles and wear a beautiful green overcoat? Is it?
My lord, I do hope it won't cause any inconvenience, but
You'd like to change your leaning, I presume?
I do declare that I would. I should like to call for a verdict of not guilty.
Thank you.
And I
would too.
What?
Is it a crime to change your mind, is it? Well,
Bonka bonka. Well, that summation examination has concluded with a rather large shift in the opinion. The eyes 2, the nose 4, and the nose have it. Not guilty, they say. Which means we no longer have consensus among the members of the jury. The trial will continue.
Objection!
Which one are you gonna do? Smash or throw? Yep, smash.
Could it seem churlish of me to drink from you, my beloved hollowed chalice, moments after raising an objection, only to crush it in disgust? Pray, forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Sykes? It seems I must retract my earlier remark.
What do you mean?
I mistakenly credited these jurors with intelligence by describing them as insightful. Yet we just witnessed them falling for a cheap trick performed by an Eastern entertainer. Eh?
Whatever you do, you mean?
Objection!
I haven't tricked anyone. Everything I've said is the truth.
Indeed. Stalwart juror number 5 was undoubtedly repairing the road as he claims. I believe you said it was a good 2 yards of the pavement which you had excavated, sir. That's right. Took me the whole day and they paid me a measly 2pence for it. Now, my learned Bunny's friend, tell me. Do you have any notion of the distance that 2 yards represents? Absolutely not, I'm Canadian. Well, if I'm honest, I have no clue, no. 2 yards is... 2 yards is a little less than 2 meters. Less than 2 meters? That's not much at all. In other words, the distance readily vaulted by anyone of moderate vigor. Yes, but the guy claimed himself that people turned away. So, would you not agree, my stalwart friend? Eh? Me? Well, I can't say you're wrong, no. Oh, man. Can't say you're wrong, no. What? And did you perchance erect a sign to prevent pedestrians from passing the site of your works? Eh? I wouldn't dream of it. What a waste of time. No coaches would have had a hope of passing anyway, and we'd turn any gentlefolk back when they came. Kids just jump over us all the time. The accused is no gentleman as far as I can see, and I have little doubt, however, that he could spring over a 2-yard trench in his meanderings around town. Ah!
Is that true? Is that it?
The incontrovertible truth is that books just purchased by the accused were found at the scene. There can be no doubt that his way back to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume walked down Briar Road. Ugh. Crushed in a single sentence. And old man.
Cold man, you can talk.
You say that around 5 o'clock in the day in question you slipped and fell and going Calabash Road. Pray, was there a suspicious looking Nipponese behind you at the time?
Oh, I can't say I remember.
You don't remember? How about a wager, my learned friend? You say it was the old man the accused saw, but I would lay 1,000 to 1 against you being able to prove it.
Ah!
Order! Order! Lord Van Zykes, explain yourself, my lord. If you had such a trenchant argument up your sleeve, why in the world did you not proffer it during the summation examination? I wanted to give this young fellow and student the sightseeing experience he no doubt came for. I wanted to see for himself how the opinion of the jury is so readily swayed. But my hospitality has its limits, and they have been reached, I feel. No capes. So, my learned friend, today's sightseeing tour of London is now over.
He's gone royal. Ooh. Metal feathers or some shit. Yeah. Pointy.
Must he really go from vampire to prince? Vampire prince! My prince! What are you talking about? My lord, the prosecution requests permission to call its next witnesses to the stand. Granted. Bailiff, bring forth the witnesses. Its next witnesses?
Mr. Naruhodo, do you not remember? We have been told on several occasions that there were eyewitnesses to the incident.
Yes, I remember. One of them being a Scotland Yard policeman, nonetheless.
I'm afraid it's likely to be the prosecution's next witness.
Alright. No matter who Van Sykes brings to the stand as his witness, no matter what they say, I believe in Soseki-san. I know he's innocent. And I'll keep believing to the very end, until this battle's over. Dun, 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 dun. Oh no. 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 What the heck? What is with the no? No, 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 no. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. No, 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 no. No, no, no. That's no. No. I'm not even sure that's a real Scotland Yard policeman. That's just a sleepy boy and his girlfriend. His violent girlfriend. See, the last time we had a blonde girl, last 2 times we had a blonde girl, petite blonde girl, was totally the killer. And is he just chewing on his string? On his helmet string? Like, it's so flat. It looks like it could almost be a mustache. That's how flat it is. Not fun of this. No. Nope. 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 Constable Raleigh beat, sir. Nothing to report on the streets, sir. What are the chances he's poisoned?
And I'm Mrs. Beat. Patricia's my name. I'm proud to say I'm this young town hero's wife.
Huh. Huh. Like, my options are you guys or Soseki. And oh. Uh-huh. Huh. I wonder. I wonder if they've got any connection whatsoever. Olive green. Olive green. What's the story here?
Well, in truth, we've not been married long. In fact, we celebrated our first anniversary just only the other day.
No, it was your husband I was asking about. He seems tired. Hardly surprising. Whilst being an honorable occupation, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world. Oh, really? I'm sure I've heard that before, actually. Indeed, apart from rare days off, our gallant officers trudge some 20 miles a day, you know. They patrol boarding houses and pubs, collect taxes, survey the streets, check that meters are running true, and they are responsible for keeping the streets clean and lighting and extinguishing our streetlights.
There are a number of items on that list that don't sound much like policing duties at all. I wouldn't just be falling asleep on my feet. I'll have collapsed long ago. But it goes without saying that a policeman's primary duty is the apprehension of criminals. Even when he's off duty, a constable is expected to investigate and resolve any crimes on his beat. For the London Bobby is a man of honor. And a man of slumber. On the day in question, this man and his wife were walking down Briar Road in the opposite direction, and they witnessed this incident as it occurred. Is that not correct, Mr. and Mr. Beat? Mr. and Mrs. Beat? I mean, do I think it's them, or is it just someone else randomly? Like, it could be them, but like, I mean, I guess it's a matter of like whether we think there's a second day of investigation. And then we get some new third party. That's right, sir. Isn't it, Rolly? Constable Rolly Beat, sir. Nothing to report on the street, sir. What a great witness he's going to be. Very good. I'd like to hear your formal testimonies now, please. You will tell the court exactly what you saw on the afternoon of the incident. Yes, sir. He didn't see a darn dang thing, 'cause he was asleep. It was our wedding anniversary, and Rolly was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor, and the other scattered somewhere, and then the other scattered something before running off. We ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at a nearby police box. It was definitely that Japanese man in the dock. Rolly and I both saw him clear as day. Well, this is extremely compelling testimony, I must say. Oh dear. This policeman and his wife are claiming to have positively identified Mr. Natsume at the scene. If their testimony is true, the alternative course of events that you established in the summation examination will be quashed. It's no. In fact. No. No. Ringing. The sound of a bell, especially one rung solemnly for a death or funeral. Okay. Well. Because that alternative was never viable in the first place. What an unfortunate behindsight. And on your wedding anniversary too. Oh, I know. But I still managed to go out for the evening with my man. Thank the Lord for that. Gosh, the life of a London Bobby sounds very hard indeed. Indeed. However, this cross-examination will be over in minutes. You may well have time to rest this afternoon. What do you mean by that? My learned friend, the witnesses saw the face of the man fleeing the scene. They are testifying under oath that was without doubt the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume. And one of these witnesses is a policeman, no less. So you appreciate the gravity of the situation, I'm sure. Except that the man is so tired, his wife has to do all the talking. Enough preamble. Counsel for the defense, commence the cross-examination, please. Yes, my lord. I half expect to see her stabby face. Soon, TM. But like at the same time, I'm rooting for them because they're kind of cute. But I do expect to see that stabby face. Okay. Can I just press everything? I could. No time to change after work. Is a bit just fluff. At the same time, it could be. Okay. Okay. No time to change after work, you say? Are you also a member of the police, Mrs. Beat? Oh, no, sadly not. It's a job for strapping young men only. Women, children, and the elderly can't even apply. Well, I think you can probably see why children and the elderly can't do the job, can't you? I think Rolly looks ever so handsome in his uniform. It suits you down to the ground, doesn't it, darling? Well, I just finished my beat. Pat and I were heading down back to the station. I was actually planning on getting changed there. Is he talking in his sleep? This is creepy. Oh no, Rolly. I much prefer you in uniform. Sometimes I don't recognize you when I see you in plain clothes. Oh dear, that doesn't seem healthy. It doesn't seem. Girl likes a man in uniform. Kindly adhere to the point. You were going for a meal after you finish your beat for the day, correct? That's right, sir. Blah. Although I was fit to drop, to be honest, after spending the whole day on my feet. But policing is my life, sir. As long as I'm the proud owner of this, I'll serve my country and my queen to the end. What's that now? My warrant card, sir. Proof that I'm a London copper. It has the noble founding principles of the force written on it as a reminder to all us policemen of our sworn duty. To patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man. Sir, and for such a noble cause, I covered 20 miles every single day without fail and without a grumble. Because I know that the plodding of my boots is all Londoners need to hear to feel safe and secure. So, fighting crime doesn't appear to come to it then. But sir, just on that one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrate my wedding anniversary. Mrs. B puts up with a lot to be married to a Bobby like me. I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. That's adorable. Oh, what a charming couple. Their young love is is such a joy to behold. If a little over the top, perhaps. And then, kindly describe what happened next. Anyway, the two silhouettes appeared out in fog from the pavement in front of us. One of them collapsed on the floor, and the other scattered something before running off.
Hold it!
Scattered something? What do you mean by that? Oh, well, I couldn't quite make out what it was at the time. But then when we got closer, we realized what it was. Didn't we, darling?
What? Ah, yes, that's right. It was some old books.
I see. Old books.
Yes, sir. Culprit had dropped a number of them, all around where the victim lay on the pavement.
Indeed. As clearly pictured in this photographic print.
That rotten Japanese man did what he did that when he did the deed.
Hold it!
Let's not forget that it remains to be established that the defendant was indeed the attacker.
But we saw him.
He was the man in the dark without question, sir.
Mustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the taut mouth, the snub nose, everything.
Any more insults you want to throw in?
That's right. He looked down at the poor defenseless woman with those terrifying, intense eyes, and then suddenly threw his books on the pavement and ran away.
I see.
This is tough. So, did someone? No, because we do have a second investigation portion. Because we have the other guy, the other guy who's living there, the actor guy, who might have been. So it's not them. Because we've yet to meet the actor guy. Like, properly. So, they're just. Actor guy threw the books on the floor purposefully. Right? Maybe? Mayhaps? I mean, that makes it much sense. This is tough. They seem as though they're telling the truth here.
May I remind the court that this unambiguous testimony comes from a policeman and his wife. Now please, continue.
Yes, sir. So maybe they're not going with the trend that every blonde chick
that they put in this game is the guilty party.
Tell us about the police box.
Was it your husband who went to fetch help?
No, I went. I may not be a police officer myself, but I am the proud wife of one after all. Isn't that right, my darling? Yank. What? Yes. I asked Mr. Speed to go. I was off duty by that point, but a Bobby's never truly off duty, of course. So I felt obliged to stay and guard the scene. not so much a wind-up doll. Pull the string every once in a while. That feels more like a like the kind of doll that what's his name? The cowboy from Toy Story. Pull my string and attack. Very laudable, Mr. Beat. Preserving the scene of a crime is a task of considerable importance. That's why I sent Patricia, you see. I told her where to find the right police box. Forgive my ignorance, but what do you mean exactly by the right police box? Depends on the crime's location, you see. As to who deals with it, where the woman was stabbed wasn't actually on my beat. So I told Patricia the way to the police box for the beat the incident fell under, so she could go and report it. It is kind of a wind-up doll, I guess. He is, yeah. She runs out of steam. I ran there as quickly as I could and asked for help from the Bobby on duty. There's nothing more potent than a young couple in love working together, you know? And as Fancy's swift response, the case was quickly resolved. The actions of 2 model citizens. Oh please, you're making us blush. Isn't he, darling? Yank. Yes, sir. What Patricia said, sir. Let's move on, shall we? Press. But surely you wouldn't have been able to see his face by the light of the gas street lamps, would you? We absolutely could. Us Londoners have exceptional eyesight, I'll have you know. Those are stabby eyes. Right. The light from the street lamps is more than enough. And my husband already told you that the fog was only light, didn't he? Yes. And what of the fog? We're famous for it across the globe, I believe. But it's still an absolute menace to those of us who have to live with it, of course. Oh, it is. When it's thick, you can't even see the hand at the end of your own arm. Yes, alright, I'll take your point. Now, could you stop shaking your husband about? The constant fog makes our eyes very sharp, you see. That's why we can tell for sure that it was that little Japanese man we saw. Can't we, darling? Yank. Well, yes. It was accused, no mistake. Mustache, hunchback, cat-like eyes, that taut mouth is unmistakable, sir. As far as the couple's testimony is concerned, there can't be any question. It was Soseki-san they saw running away from the scene of the crime. So that's it, is it? That's their entire testimony? What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo-san? Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, I hate to admit it, but on hearing the testimony, it really does seem as though Mr. and Mrs. Beat saw what they say they saw. Mr. Natsume running away from the scene on Kubara Road that day. that day. Yes, I feel the same. So if that's true, where does that leave us? Grumble. The members of the jury are sure to call for a guilty verdict after this testimony. Oh no. Then what do we do? If Kazuma-sama were here... What are you trying to say? I think he would try to find a contradiction somewhere else within their testimony. What do you mean, somewhere else? Their statement about seeing Mr. Natsume is unequivocal. Calling that into question won't help. But if you could identify some other part of their testimony which appears to contradict the facts, you might be able to discredit them, make the jury doubt if the pair's memory of that day is accurate. Oh, right. Put simply, we must focus on finding a discrepancy in the statements somewhere. If we don't, I'm afraid the trial may reach an early and unfavorable conclusion. Ugh. Why do I always seem to be so up against it? Mr. Lawyer, sir, can I ask you something? Oh, yes, of course. What is it? This actor guy No, he's not. Okay. Oh, yes, of course. What is it? Well, you keep asking us all these questions about everything we've told you, so... It seems like you don't believe our testimony. Is that right? Is it? Well, out with it. What? No, it's really not that at all. My husband's a policeman, remember? And I know what I saw. I remember every last detail, everything. Oh, I know. What about the books the man dropped? I could tell you the names of every single one, I could. Every single one. And you dare question how reliable my testimony is? Give me the names! That will do, Mrs. Beat. No, it won't do at all. That Japanese lawyer has no idea on what I'm capable of. Even if I decide to forgive him for insulting us, I don't think for a minute that Rolly will. I really didn't mean to cause offense. Please, put your husband's fist down. Perhaps you'd like the opportunity to supplement your testimony, Mrs. Beat? Might that appease you? Oh, thank you, my lord. That would settle things nicely. Wouldn't it, darling? Thank you for telling me the names of the 4 books. Oh. Okay, well, I guess you don't have to tell me the names of the 4 books. But you can. I'll let you do that. Yes, we know that there were books dropped at the scene of the crime, as you say. Those purchased by the accused at the nearby second-hand bookshop on this day in question. After I'd been to the police box for help, I decided to have a good look over the error for good measure. I'm a proud policeman's wife, after all. I did it for Rolly.
And what was your husband doing at the time?
Oh, he was lying face down in the snow, getting some well-deserved rest. He works ever so hard, you know. Ever so hard, don't you, my darling?
Interesting way of guarding the scene of the crime. Well, Mrs. Beach, seeing as you've regaled the court with your tales of your powers of recollection, would you be so kind as to recount the titles of all the books you observed at the scene?
I'd be happy to. Now, are you all listening? There was the picture of Monsieur somebody or other.
Which one are you gonna get?
What and what's it? Yearnings. And then was a meal for someone. And the last one was definitely the thingummy something. You see?
Yes, I see there are 1 or 2 holes in your memory.
Well, they were along those lines, I'm quite sure.
There were indeed books found at the scene with titles along those lines, as you put it.
Well, what did I tell you? I think it was very mean the way you've been implying that my testimony can't be trusted. Don't you agree, darling?
Yank. Oh. Oh. Well, aren't I glad I pressed her testimony? That's a man who can commit a stabbing. But probably didn't, because they actually seem legit for the most part. Anyone who accepts mine Patricia will have to answer to me. Well, I'll have me to answer to. Sleep, sleep, sleep. Terrifying. Yes, she really is. Okay. Skip. Mash, 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 mash. I wish there was a skip. Maybe there is. So, you're saying that there were 4 books?
That's right. I remember all of them. The picture of Monsieur somebody, what's it yearnings, a meal for someone, and the thingummy something.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Bate.
But there is a fundamental flaw in that statement of yours. Oh no! What flaw?
Simply that, at the scene of the crime, there were only 3 books, not 4.
What?
This is the receipt from the bookshop where the defendant bought his books.
Your books?
Yes, and it details Mr. Natsume's purchases that day. But as you can see, there are only 3 books. Only 3 books are listed.
Only 3? But... No, that can't be. I remember seeing them. There were 4 books, I tell you. 4 dirty old books.
Oh, really? Have a good look at this photographic print of the scene of the crime. I mean, there could be one right behind the body, so I mean... you can clearly see from the evidence as well, there are only 3 books. But I just don't believe it. I saw them there, I swear it. I saw them. No, madame. I'm afraid your powers of observation cannot be relied upon. Ugh. So it cannot be denied that though you say it was the defendant you saw, you could very well be mistaken. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! No!
Objection!
It's plainly evident that it is your powers of deduction that cannot be relied upon, my learned Nipponese friend. What? What cannot be denied is that these 2 witnesses saw the accused running from the scene, a fact that you know very well you have no hope of disproving. Ah. So you've striven to avert attention from that by dint of some inconsequential discrepancies. Would that be fair? He sees right through me. But your plan is somewhat recoiled against you. What are you talking about? It's quite simple. Let me explain with a toast. To the policeman's wife and her entirely accurate testimony in every respect. Yeah, I mean, when he said that those were the names of the books. Yes, those were the names of the books. Oh. You see, the matter is not up for debate. At the scene of On Byre Road, a total of 4 books were most definitely found.
Objection!
But what about the photographic print? It only shows 3 books. Idiot! Quite right, only 3 can be seen in that print. That print? You mean to say you have another print and you haven't shown us? Allow me to present another, one that shows the victim's hand. A burnt book. It's a burnt book. It's a burnt book. It's a burnt book. It's a lion 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 book. So, was it you? Did you do it? Why does this person have the lion book? I don't believe it. It's the 4th book. As you will observe, the 4th book was hidden from view in the original print by the victim's torso. No. Oh no, this wasn't predictable at all. But thank you for telling us about this lion book and the fire that burnt it. Order! Order! There, you see? Look at that. Look. Yes. It's just like I said, isn't it, my darling? Yes, sir. Patricia's always right, sir. Notice the receipt for the books purchased by the accused
on that day in question. Mrs. Beat, the titles once again, if you please.
Oh yes, of course. The picture of Monsieur somebody or other.
The picture of Monsieur Lecoq.
What's its yearnings?
Canterbury Yearnings.
A meal for someone.
A meal for Gabriel, in fact. As the court just heard, the witness remembers the book titles flawlessly, save for a few minor details. Mrs. Beat's powers of recollection can only be described as exceptional.
Did you hear that, Rolly? The gentleman paid me a compliment.
Yes, sir. Flawless, sir. Patricia is flawless. But there are only 3 books on the receipt, and Miss Beat mentioned 4. Idiot. Idiot. There's nothing surprising about that. Clearly the 4th book is that which is shown in this photographic print.
What was the... there was a card. What was the name on that? Olive green. Green olive.
I'm sorry, counsel, but does not seem odd. Why should the 4th book be omitted from the receipt? It's not odd at all, my lord. You're all idiots. As the photograph clearly shows, the 4th book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, it belongs to the victim. The victim was holding her own book.
I wonder, what became of that 4th book?
Obviously, it wasn't overlooked by the investigating officers at Scotland Yard. I have it here as evidence. Burnt book of a lion? Wait. You will submit that and the aforementioned photographic print to the court. Please, counsel. My pleasure, my lord. Second crime scene photograph has been entered into the court record. 4th book has been entered in the court record. 4th book? Specifically, The Lion's Pride. The prosecution rests. I have nothing further to add.
I do. But you, of course, don't know about it. Oh, no. You don't know nothing. Oh, look at this. The book has been badly burnt. You're right. You'd never be able to read it in this state. Especially not the latter pages. What a terrible waste. Judging from the scorched edges of the paper, I think the damage must have occurred very recently. A book recently damaged by fire. Why does this seem to raise a red flag with me? Back cover is badly burnt. Doot 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 doot. Lion's Pride. Let me see. It's a book entitled The Lion's Pride. I'm afraid I don't know any English literature at all. So it wouldn't be something I've heard. Wait a minute. The Lion's Pride? That's strange. I think I've heard a book by that name before. And very recently too. It's a title I recognize too, Mr. Naruhodo. I wonder.
I wonder. I have nothing further to add.
What?
You seem surprised, my learned friend. But your resistance until now has not been in vain. Entertaining, yes, but futile. The spurious longer route to the accused lodgings that you try to establish in your summation examination, and the attempted discrediting of the witness's powers of recollection in your cross-examination.
Futile?
I walked right into this, didn't I?
You see, everything we've said is true. Isn't that right, my darling?
Yes, Pat. Marry me, Pat. So perhaps the ladies and gentlemen of the jury would like to reconsider their positions, should the court waste any more time on this Nipponese travesty? Or is the decision you have to make all too apparent already? You've all heard all the witnesses and seen all the evidence. This trial has run its course.
Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid we're in a terribly precarious position.
I know, but if I fight back in the wrong way now, I could very well make matters worse. Think, Ryonosuke, think. What can you do now? You can always wait for the summation. Summation. Thingy-mabob, but how much worse is the question. And while I'm pretty sure it won't, what objection can I make? Right? It's like sometimes I feel like it's trying to be like, yeah, this is the time when you're not supposed to raise an objection, but at the same time, I feel like this is the point where like it doesn't matter either way. They're gonna go into summation examination just like that. Doesn't matter. No. Frick it. Just gonna raise that objection because I'm not done yet. No, my learned friend, that's over. At last, cross-examination was your final chance to establish a credible defense, and you failed. The die has been cast. There's no more room for debate. Well, it might be over as far as you're concerned, but ugh, I can't think of what to say.
If I may, Lord Van Sykes, it seems somewhat boorish to close down the debate at this point.
Your insignificant little Eastern Isle must be a flawless whole indeed.
for a lowly judicial assistant to have the audacity to intervene at a moment like this.
Oh.
I am, to my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer. So you will have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential and her opinions invaluable.
Mr. Naruhodo.
One of this land's great guiding principles is its tolerance.
Tolerance. Yum. So tolerant.
For your time.
Oh, this game pains me so much.
So the court will hear you out, madam.
Go ahead, Mr. Sato, please.
Very well. Pray, what insight can you give us? What have we overlooked in this matter that you see it is fit to pursue further?
Well, the court has been presented with new evidence, but only after the last cross-examination finished.
I see. And you believe that this new evidence warrants further examination, do you?
Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think? It's just possible that this evidence might be the decisive proof we've been waiting for. The judge is sure to ask the members of the jury to announce their leanings in the moment. And of course, he's sure to ask you to explain what the crucial piece of evidence is and why. So we must take this opportunity to examine the newly presented evidence as thoroughly as possible. Yes, I understand. And thank you, Mr. Sato. This is it. So Sato-san has managed to win us one last chance here. I can't let it go to waste. The defense wishes to present evidence, my lord.
Very well. The defense may present one further piece of evidence. Evidence that apparently offers a profound insight into this case and has hitherto been overlooked.
Take that!
Hitherto. Maybe.
The evidence in question is what we can see from the newly presented photographic print of the crime scene. The fourth book found in the victim's hand.
Objection!
We have already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than it being in the victim's grasp at the time of the incident, no significance has been attached to it. Pursuing the matter further would be a flagrant waste of the court's time, as you well know. Yes. I'm afraid, counsel, I must concur with the prosecution on this matter. When I afforded you this opportunity, you led the court to believe that the evidence in question contained a hitherto undiscovered clue. So I must insist that you elaborate, counsel. You will identify this clue at once. Do I make myself clear? Oh, yes, my lord. It's,
Mr. Naruhodo, I believe the prosecution is trying to avoid a thorough examination of the evidence, which means you may very well be on the right track. Yes. I think you might be right.
So, counsel, precisely where is the vital clue to this case, which this fourth book conceals? I would ask the court to observe the back of the book in question. The back? What do you... Good gracious. It has been burnt to a crisp. So we have to ask ourselves, why was the victim clutching what is clearly an unreadable book? It's undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to have been doing.
Objection!
Unnatural, you say? And what of it, my Nipponese friend?
Oh. Were I to concede the point, it bears no relation to the case. There is nothing to discuss. So should you wish to assert that this fire damage is some veiled clue as to what happened that day, pray, do enlighten us all. What truth does this charred book hide? A charred book. There's just one possibility here, which I can't quite bring myself to rule out. It's an outside chance, certainly, but worth a try. Alright, I'll explain my theory. Don't keep us waiting any longer, then, Counsel. Explain this theory of yours. What are you suggesting that you can ascertain from the fire damage that this sorry tome has suffered? My lord, the burn on the back of this book reveals a startling truth about the book's owner. I beg your pardon? But we already know who the book belongs to. The victim was gripping it in her hand as she fell to the floor after all. It's obviously hers. The question of how this book came to be in the victim's hand has yet to be answered. However, as to the questions of who the book really belongs to and where it originated, the defense has very credible answers.
Good gracious, how could you possibly?
How could you possibly? Oh, how could you?
Very well, I'll play along with this futile attempt to delay your inevitable demise. But do remember, the members of the jury may well burn you if your little gamble goes awry. Counsel,
the defense's response here is very likely to influence the final outcome of this trial. So tell the court, who do you claim is the owner of this burnt book?
Take that!
Take that! The answer is that the book belongs to the couple who owned the house where the defendant had his lodgings. An over-the-top spin, 1-360, a certain Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb, the landlords. And whether this is some extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate at work, I don't know, but of all the people in London, one of the 6 chosen for jury duty in this courtroom today is none other than Mrs. Garadeb herself. Oh my goodness, me? I think you must be mistaken, sir. I'm not Mrs. Garadeb's wife. I'm his maid. Things would be so much easier if you would just drop the pretense. Alright then, how about a simple question for you? Have you ever seen this book in Mr. Garadeb's house? I would never presume to know all the books he keeps, sir.
Objection!
This is outlandish behavior. This woman is the accused landlady, you say? You implicate the highest hard-working member of the public. You besmirch her without even a shred of evidence. You decide to, he decided to put the freaking non-impartial jury onto my jury. So, jury member, very impartial. Do your dang research before deciding to put people on jury. Your actions are unforgivable.
Objection!
This is not mere conjecture. The defense happens to know that on the day in question, at almost exactly the same time as the victim was stabbed on the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room on the top floor of Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb's house. Good lord, what sort of incident, counsel? A fire, my lord. Afraid to say it was. Happened in the blink of an eye, you know. The whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. Bally furniture started to go up as well. Worst of it, I lost my favorite. The book called The Lion's Pride. The Lion's Pride. By Jove, that's the same title that's the subject of this debate. Oh dear me.
Objection!
This is visible. All you've told the court is that a book by the same name was involved in the fire. In which case, it would be reasonable to assume that it was burnt to ashes. And entirely unreasonable to infer that it magically removed itself to the scene of the crime. Perhaps it would make more sense if I told you that the cause of the fire was marital discord. Without going into details, it seems that Mrs. Garrideb was considerably enraged. Apparently, she continued to attack Mr. Garrideb even amid the flames. Oh, how awful! I can't even imagine being so horrid to the one you love. Can you, Rolly? Absolutely not, sir. My Patricia would never raise a finger against me, sir. She has very stabby eyes sometimes, especially when she's pulling at you. So, hopefully that's true for your sake.
Had all my favorite old novels in that case. But as soon as the fire got hold of them, that was it. Whoosh! Up in smoke. Then the wife started hurling things at me. There was I, back up against the window under heavy enemy fire. Incendiary books incoming, 10 to the dozen.
The man had his back up against the window, and he had burning books thrown at him. Goodness gracious, are you suggesting that the book was thrown through a window and landed coincidentally at the scene of the crime?
Objection!
No. Oh, no. A thorough investigation of the surrounding area was conducted the very evening of the incident, and there was no report of the Garrideb's window pane being broken. That's quite true. We also saw no sign of broken glass when we visited the Garrideb household. But is it not conceivable that the window was open at the time Not even remotely. Let us not forget the season and the chilling weather that accompanies it. No Londoner would ever leave a window open in the middle of winter. Ah. Does the defense postulate this scenario in all seriousness, counsel? You earnestly claim that the book found at the scene was a flaming projectile flown by Mr. Garrideb's wife. I believe it's a possibility, my lord.
That's quite enough. Well, I hope that everyone can see you for who you are now, you little foreign trickster. You call yourself a lawyer, but you're just a coward. A mean coward.
Really?
Claiming our little tiffs set the whole neighborhood alight. Honestly. Implying that I'm merely posing as a maid for appearance's sake. How could you? It's nothing to do with this beastly case. Not any of it. All you've done is sully our family's name.
No, I assure you that was never my intention.
Dragging an upstanding citizen's name through the mud, simply to divert attention from your failing defense. I should box your ears, that's what I should do. It's utterly unforgivable.
Too right. Here we go. How long have we sat here now, listening to this Nipponese shouting out his fancy foreign furies? But think about it. At the end of the day, the only person who could possibly have stabbed the victim is that little hunchback with the mustache, and he ran away from the scene too.
I do declare you're right. It's true. Yes. What did I tell you?
Makes sense to me. Huh? Sorry? What's that? Well, it would appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury are once again in full agreement. Except the last one, who's just can't hear you. What's your position, Lord Van Sykes? In truth, my lord, I feel these have been unnecessarily protracted proceedings. But then one must always exercise patience in order to savor the best vintage. No, wait. The mystery of the fourth book still hasn't been... yes. Bang. Leg on table. So appropriate for our courtroom. If books are your predilection, my learned friend, study them in your own time. What? No forgive the discourtesy this time? Ahem. Well, in that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now state your individual decisions regarding the defendant's culpability for the court to hear.
Guilty!
Guilty.
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 Guilt.
Guilty.
Guilty!
Examination. Summation. Examination time.
Thank you for that unambiguous response. That's twice now. It's over.
Miss Naruhodo, don't give up.
Miss Susato? Have you forgotten? The battle isn't over yet. You're not suggesting... Of course. The defense has the right to another summation examination at this point. You could still convince the jurors to change their minds. You have one more chance. My lord, the defense asks to exercise its right to a summation examination. You believe you still have tricks up your sleeve? I don't intend to trick anybody. I intend to uncover the truth. This is no time to be downcast. As long as there's a chance, I have to stay strong and determined. To be continued. Dun, 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 dun. And with that, we'll end it there. Thank you very much for watching. And have a nice day. Bye.